and welcome everyone. This is your Midnight Overwatch with Phoenix, and this is the health report that we do every couple of weeks here with Bob Gilpatrick of Boomers Forever Young. Bob's joining us today, and we're going to be talking about, as you can tell from the title, the fire within. And what is that? Circulation and a few other things. The fire within, indeed. Anyway, let's get right to our expert. Bob Gilpatrick of Boomers. Bob, how are you? How are things going down there? Do you have any news for us? Just in general, what's going on, man?
Yeah, so there's all kinds of good things going on. It's going to be November here in another day, and it's really, really beautiful weather here in St. Petersburg. So if people are thinking about taking a little vacation, come on down. This is the perfect time. As soon as the leaves have fallen, wherever you are, come on down to St. Petersburg. And if you're here, stop by and visit. I'll call ahead to our 800 number and make sure I'll be here. And that'd be great. And, you've got I think it's today, Phoenix, is a Senate hearing for the new Surgeon General. And her name is Casey Means. And they're doing a confirmation hearing for her. And she's going to be the first Surgeon General who's really intensely focused on prevention and proper diet and moving the country more towards holistic health and prevention than just sick care. So it'll be a really great asset, to have, in addition to RFK Jr. and Dr. Oz, to have her on the team as the Surgeon General is going to be awesome. And it's just one more positive sign that things are moving in the right direction in terms of national policy for healthcare.
That's very good.
The other thing is, just wanted to say, if people are listening in here, the weekend of the 1st of November, check and see if our sale is still going on. We have a really great sale where people can get up to 20% off on their products, and that's all of our products. It's the one time where we've put every single product on sale. And you can take advantage of that. Just go to the site and click on products and on sale, and you'll be able to see if that same discount is still up there. I'm not sure what day it's going to come down, but if you're listening and you hear it, definitely go and check.
Very good.
Yep. Yeah. The other thing is, Phoenix, we are getting closer and closer to getting 2 brand new products in, both of which will be very helpful. One is going to be an advanced new age pain roll-on, and it's all natural products, but it's highly engineered and tested, and it works really, really well, way better than any of the normal things that you can see advertised on TV. This is going to be the real deal. And the other one that's coming is going to be called Collagen, which is a new product that is going to help people rebuild their cartilage. So as people age, they stop making as much cartilage as they used to, particularly, for your knee joints. And your knees are super important because they're like a natural shock absorber for the human body. And so they have these cartilage that acts as a shock absorber, and it's kind of like a very cushiony gel. And it's made by a combination of numerous different compounds together, one of which is type 2 collagen, the other is hyaluronic acid, and also aggrecan. And as you age, you stop making those compounds, or you make a lot less of them. And so you end up with this so-called bone-on-bone type of situation where you might need a knee replacement or hip replacements. Well, now we're going to have a technology that reactivates those genes so they start producing the compounds that make up your cartilage. And so people at any age are going to be able to restore their ability to make new cartilage. And both of those products will be available on I would say it's going to take about 2.5 to 3 more weeks from here on the 1st of November. So almost certainly before the end of November, we'll have both of those in stock and ready for the first people to be able to get them, other than the beta tests. So I was part of the tests for both of these products, and some other people were as well. And it's worked for everybody. So we're going to be rolling it out where it's available for everybody very soon.
Very cool. Now, was that a pun? You're going to be rolling it out, the roll-on pain
Yeah.
reliever?
Uh-huh.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely. We're gonna make a jingle about it. Phoenix is gonna be called Roll Out the Roll On.
There you go. Very cool.
I,
Oh
I
my
think you
goodness.
can imagine the tune, right?
Yeah, Rolly and
Yeah.
Rolly can sing
And,
it.
and the person gonna sing the jingle is gonna be Raleigh from our company. And
I
so
know.
Raleigh,
I was playing his word. I always call
yeah,
him Rolly.
yeah, there you go. Raleigh's gonna roll out the roll on jingle.
Oh
I'll
man.
I'll let him know right after we finish this call.
Yeah. Well, we better get rolling on this topic. So anyway, that's good news. That's very cool. Very cool. I'm sure a lot of people will be looking forward to that. I know I am.
Yeah. So that's what's happening down here.
Very cool. Okay. The fire within. The fire within. What are we talking about here?
Yeah, so inflammation is a buzzword that relates to human health, and quite often also it relates to human illness. And it's one of those things where the more you know about this, the healthier you're going to be because you'll be able to take action to do something about it. So, what is the basics of it? People say, well, inflammation, that's like when I, hit my thumb with a hammer and it gets all swollen, right? Yes, that's acute inflammation, where if you injure your body sends lots of blood and lymph fluid to the area in order to create healing, and as a result it gets inflamed, and that's acute inflammation. But chronic inflammation is this low level of inflammation at the cellular level that is characterized by your body producing too many free radicals and not enough free radical scavengers. And so people have varying degrees of inflammation of this chronic nature. There are some people who have very high inflammation and some that have very low. And the people that have very high inflammation are aging faster. And when long ago, Phoenix, when I used to teach classes on aging at Pace University in New York, we had a class on the biology of aging, and back then they called them theories of aging. Of course, now they're no longer theories. We know all the science behind it, but the main theory of aging was this theory of inflammation and free radical damage. So free radicals are molecular compounds that are unstable that tend to try to combine with other molecules, including tissue, and they cause damage. And your body makes them continuously because of aerobic life. So we are relying on oxygen for our life. And as we use oxygen to make energy, we produce byproducts similar to if you're burning a log in your fireplace. It's creating heat. Our bodies create lots of heat through aerobic life. And in the fireplace, that log eventually burns out and the remnants are just smoke and ash. Human beings are just like that. We are like a log in a fire, and over time, we're burning ourselves up from this constant free radical damage that's destroying our body bit by bit by bit over the course of 85 to 100 years. And people that have higher inflammation are burning themselves faster. Like if you were to have a fireplace and you had a very dry piece of poplar wood and you put it in the fireplace and you hit it with the bellows and opened up the flue all the way, 20 minutes later, that log would be burned up. But if you have a piece of shagbark hickory and you're burning it in the fireplace and you're not hitting it with the bellows and the flue's open just right, that log could burn for 3 or 4 hours. And human bodies are like that as well. Some are a quick flash and they die young. Others can live for a very long time and have very low oxidation or very low inflammation. And so what's helpful then is to know what it is that causes inflammation to begin with, and what makes one person burn faster than the other, and what can be done to slow your rate of inflammation, what can be done to identify what your rate of inflammation is, and ultimately, is it possible, because our bodies are also constantly repairing themselves, is it possible to slow your rate of inflammation enough that you are actually rebuilding your body faster than you're burning it, or as fast? And for that particular theory of aging, you can take it off the books, right? And you're no longer dying from inflammation. And there's some evidence to show that we may actually already be in that place where there are people who have gotten their inflammation low enough and have established a restorative capacity through various strategies where they actually are not any longer dying from inflammation. Now, it doesn't mean that they're not aging and they're not dying, because there's a few other very important aspects to aging, some biological, some psychological, um, and including, some that are very mysterious and spiritual that cause people to age and die, right? But for today, we'll talk about inflammation. And just with a quick mention, Phoenix, about a month ago, we were talking about heart disease on this program, and we were talking about how if you have a husband and wife or significant others that have been together for a long time, if one person was to die over the next 48 hours, it becomes 20 times more likely than it would otherwise be that second person will die from a heart attack. And for the next 2 weeks, it's 6 times more likely that they'll die from a heart attack. And it's very common that an old man will die, and within 24 hours afterwards, his widow has a heart attack and dies also. And that happened to my next door neighbor when I was about 7 years old, Phoenix. I remember my neighbor and I were at Boy Scouts or Cub Scouts, whatever it was. And his dad came to pick us up, and he said, I've got some bad news I need to tell you about when we get home. And it was that his grandpa had died. And he came over to tell me, the little boy came to tell me, and we were picked up by the same man at another event the next night. And he said, I got some more bad news to tell you. And a kid came over to tell me a little later on his grandma had also died just 24 hours later.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I've heard of that. And I'm
Yeah,
sure some people listening right now are familiar with that too. Yeah, it's very, very sad, but very true.
yeah. And so there's, yes, human beings are burning themselves up over time, and it's the main reason why people die. But getting your inflammation down really, really super low, it doesn't mean you're not going to die. Um, on the other hand, there's a lot you can do, and there's a lot you should do, because inflammation not only ultimately causes your death, but it also causes all the different diseases people get along the way. So, heart disease and cancer and strokes, and sometimes diabetes, Alzheimer's disease, all have a correlation with inflammation. And, and certainly so does CTE, chronic traumatic encephalopathy, the disease that people get from too many concussions, is highly correlated with inflammation. And so, if you want to make it least likely that you're going to get any of these, what are normally adult onset diseases, keeping your inflammation down, it should be your first order of business. Uh, if you're a person that's interested in your health and wellness, and you want to live a long time with a very long health span. And one of the other main aspects of aging that's related to inflammation, Phoenix, is the whole issue with telomeres. So telomeres are these little caps on the end of your chromosomes that contain information. And when your cells divide and double, it uses information from the telomeres to facilitate it, and the telomeres get shorter as you age. Now they're getting shorter because they're being used up, but they also get shorter with inflammation. And when they do studies to measure people's telomeres, they find that people, particularly women who are under a tremendous amount of stress from raising children who have disabilities, have the fastest shortening telomeres. And so we know that telomere shortening is related to inflammation, and it's related to stress, which is causing excessive inflammation. And so if you keep your inflammation down, your telomeres can actually be rebuilt. Your body makes an extremely elaborate enzyme called human telomerase, which helps to rebuild your telomeres as they get whittled away. And so, in theory, it's possible with very low inflammation that you can make enough telomerase to continuously rebuild your telomeres. And so, what do you do? What do you need to know about inflammation? Well, the causes of it, these, internal causes are related to your diet. So people that drink soda pop, take in a lot of high glycemic index carbs, are naturally going to have higher inflammation. And the reason is that if you are are a person that has even slightly elevated blood sugar from taking in all these sugars and carbs, that excess sugar can't drop down into your cells to be burned for energy. So some of it starts lingering in your bloodstream. And as it does, it bumps up against proteins in your blood and glycates them and creates toxins, glycotoxins, which create inflammation. But the very act of the glycation throws off a molecule of superoxide. And superoxide is one of the main free radicals that's causing inflammation. So the higher your blood sugar from having a high glycemic index carb diet, the higher your inflammation, the more likely you're going to die young. And so sugar, there's people have written articles about how sugar kills. Well, that's how it kills. It creates high rate of inflammation. And so watching your diet and staying away from things that we know in our diet that cause inflammation, ultra processed foods, particularly processed meats, and high sugar content is going to create high inflammation. Also, not being in the sunlight enough or not taking enough vitamin D3 is also implicated in higher inflammation. And you also have external factors that end up affecting your internal, which is a lot of the toxins in the environment that are in the air, that are in your food, that are in the water, are also causing inflammation. And particularly microplastics are known for that. Excessive heavy metals in your environment will cause it, and then also stress, as we mentioned before, not just with people that have handicapped children, which was the study that was done, but people in general in the United States anyway are of the belief that things are not okay 95% of the time. And that causes stress, and it causes excessive cortisol, which causes excessive inflammation. So you can begin to see, okay, how are we going to stand guard against inflammation? Well, we're going to make sure that our diet is not excessively overloaded with high glycemic index carbs and processed foods. And we're going to also try to avoid toxins from the environment, including toxins that you make when you overcook your meat or when you leave your shoes inside the house. And then also, you need to, and possibly most importantly, you need to have a strategy for maintaining an equilibrium with your hormones that are your stress hormones, whether you're going to use meditation or prayer or the emotional freedom technique or havening or yoga, whatever it is, to keep your mind in a particular mindset, a framework that is more anchored in gratitude and more anchored in joyfulness, as opposed to this continuous, incessant dreading that things are not okay, which is the common default in the United States, is that sense of dread. And if that's you, you'll want to be sure that you begin to learn strategies to reverse that. And it can be done fairly easily once you know the right techniques and you know to stand guard against this, to watch and see where your mind is going, what type of beliefs you have, what type of conclusions you're making when certain events occur in your life, and to be able to elevate yourself into a meta position so that you become the watcher or the listener uh, of what's going on in your mind, so that you have simultaneously the ability to have thought, constructive thought, but also to be an aware thinker that's separate from thought. Now, some people will argue there is no thinker separate from thought. There's only thought, and that thought created the thinker. But regardless of that, it's still effective in helping manage stress.
Very good.
So here's another thing that we know, Phoenix, and this is great advancements in the science of nutrition and anti-aging. We know the different types of free radicals that your body produces and from which metabolic pathways they're being produced. And we know how your body naturally subdues them. We know how it changes as you age. And we also now know how to intervene with supplementation to not only bring your level of inflammation back to a younger age, but to make it much lower than it ever was when you were young, right? And you can track this with a blood test called CRP, or C-reactive protein, which is an enzyme produced in your liver that's indicative of inflammation. And the average person is about a 3 on the scale. Some people are as high as 30 and are very sick as a result. And some people have been able to get their CRP down below zero point 0.5, which is kind of a magic number to shoot for. And some people that we know that are our customers, their inflammation has gone below zero point 0.1. And so when you use the right nutrition products that are loaded with antioxidants that keep your inflammation down, you can actually reduce your inflammation by a factor of 30 or more. And you can be having inflammatory aging that is almost imperceptible. And of course, your body with the right substrates is constantly rebuilding itself by producing new stem cells, by by repairing the cells, the apparatus of the cells that you already have. Constant repair. Some scientists say half your energy goes towards repairing the damage that's occurring to your body from living in the environment we live in on planet Earth. But your body has immense and very, very sophisticated capability to rebuild and restore. And if you give it a chance by reducing the inflammation, it will do a job where you can find very old people who begin this type of strategy will all of a sudden start to feel better. They will, because their body still has the ability to restore themselves. And as they get their inflammation down, things start to reverse. And when we give elderly people our barley products and Boomer Boost, that's what we see. So we know that about half of the problem with oxidation is what they call ROS, reactive oxygen species, primarily superoxide. And we know there's an enzyme called superoxide dismutase, which is the main free radical scavenger that your body makes. And as you age, you make less of it. And that's why people age faster as they get older. But we now have stabilized SOD, or superoxide dismutase, that you can take by mouth and reduce your inflammation dramatically. Now, SOD is a tricky endeavor because it has a half-life of a maximum of 10 minutes. So if SOD is produced by a plant, for example, that you're going to try to get SOD from to give to people, and you extract it, 10 minutes later, it's half gone. 10 minutes later, it's half gone again and again and again. By the time you get it into a bottle and put it on a shelf at Earth's origins, the amount of SOD left doesn't help. It's imperceptible and it has no effect. So what we are lucky to have is a scientist in Canada who figured out how to stabilize SOD along with other nutrients. And he's been able to extend the half-life of SOD to a number of years, from 10 minutes out to years, so that even if you're getting a product that is a year or two old, from the time it was harvested, it still has so much SOD in it that you have to take it very carefully in very small amounts and slowly ease into it as you begin to use this type of sprouted barley for your health. And that's a huge advantage for people to have access to stabilized SOD. It's a rare thing. We have it in our sprouted barley seeds, and if people want some or want to know more about it, they can give us a call or go to the website. And the other thing is this, Phoenix, there are other types of free radicals, hydroxyl radicals, and it requires different types of compounds to neutralize those free radicals. So you can do a tremendous amount of good just with SOD, but if you also have vitamin A and vitamin C, vitamin E, selenium, zinc, glutathione, proanthocyanins, um, trimethylglycine, and the like, you can have a stack of antioxidants like we have in Boomer Boost that you couple together with the SOD in the barley. And those are the people who have their C reactive protein go down from this level 3 or higher down below zero point 0.5 and are garnering the benefits of very low inflammation, a longer life, a longer health span, dramatically less chance of an adult onset debilitating disease. And so we put those two products together in a combination we call the dynamic combo. And people can find that on our website.
Mm-hmm.
And the good news about it is it's not only for inflammation. There's at least 10 or 20 other positive health benefits to those products that in addition to calming your inflammation.
Very cool. Um,
So,
you know
yep.
what? While you just said that, you're talking about your products. Right in the middle of this, why don't you tell everybody, contact info? I will tell everybody right now. You can go to patriotintelreport.com. On the left-hand side, there's a lady in a blue lightning storm. Click on that, and it'll take you right there. But what about your other contact info, Bob?
Yeah, so our 800 number is 800-861-4609. And you can call that number Monday to Friday, 9 to 5 Eastern time. And you'll get Stephanie or Lucy on the phone, and they'll be able to answer, all of your questions and help you get just the right thing for you. So, of course, they can help you, with what you need for inflammation, but all kinds of other things too. Uh, whether you're having trouble with sleep or digestion or anything like that, they'll be able to help you out. And you can also come by. We're at 5401 Central Avenue in St. Petersburg. Um, if you come today, you'll have to go around to the other side because we're refreshing the blacktop out in front. Just kidding, you probably aren't coming by today. And but you can call ahead and make an appointment, and I'll make sure I'm here to meet up with you if you want to come by and visit. And lots of people have done that. In fact, Phoenix, we have listeners to the show that have been coming to our office for over 10 years.
Oh, wow.
And because, like, there's one gentleman who lives in one town and works in another and has to drive right past our office on his way. And so when he needs new products, which he's been getting for himself and his family for 10 years, he stops in and says hello and tells us about his latest music. He's a composer and a musician, and stops by to get products from us.
Oh, very nice. Yeah, that's very cool. I love to hear those stories. Well, we'll be sure and give this contact info again when we finish here. But please, Bob, I didn't mean to take you off topic, but when you're talking about contacting you, I'm like, well, let's tell them how to do that. So let's continue on, please.
Yeah, so um, you want to, absolutely, if you're serious about getting your inflammation down, you're going to need those compounds that I just talked about. It's going to be very hard to get your inflammation down to where you're no longer aging from inflammation without the assistance of concentrated amounts of antioxidants. Your body makes antioxidants only enough to keep you alive for about 85 to 100 years, and you age faster as you get older. But with these compounds, you can turn you can turn the tables, not only on your aging, but on your disease, your adult onset disease. And so we'll talk a little bit about the issue of stress here for a minute, Phoenix, because um, it's, stress can cause you to secrete excessive hormones, including cortisol, that is very hard to deal with. And the compounds you can take, by mouth are helpful, but we always say that you can take all the best nutrition products in the world, but if you're under stress, you're probably still going to be sick to some degree. And so we go to a lot of trouble to help people manage their stress. And we produce videos for people on how to manage stress and manage their mindset. And it's very, very crucial skill to have. If your intention is to have a very long health span, you have to be able to not necessarily master, but you have to get really good at stress management. And part of the reason is that we live in a society, in a time of history where there is purposeful conflict being created by various entities, various parties, in order to create uncertainty, to create fear, and as a mechanism for acquiring and retaining power. And so we live in a world that, if we're not capable and conscious of it, we can easily get overwhelmed by this morphic field of of bashing of heads, right? Bashing of ideologies, one against the other, and so this is why you have, for example, the Mind Valley company that is run by a man they call Vishen. And Vishen has been helping people with self-help and mindset for many years now, and has helped tens of millions of people learn how to adapt their mindset in order to be able to thrive in the midst of chaos. And his most current endeavor is he is partnering with a special teacher who is going to be doing a multi-day workshop that is going to be teaching techniques for how to manage your mindset and your stress. And one of the main things, Phoenix, that they are teaching now for the first time on Vishen's platform is havening. And they're also going to be in this this broadcast teaching the emotional freedom technique. And when you watch their advertisements for this upcoming summit, you can see the instructor, the main instructor, using both havening and tapping in demonstrating what is going to happen in this summit. And so the point being that at the highest level, with the most skillful and knowledgeable self-help therapy types in the world, what they're now doing is using these bioenergetic techniques to help people to have a better life, in essence. And it's very important, because when people are under stress and they're constantly being hit with information that makes them think that things are not okay, they're continuously initiating particular biological processes in their brain that eventually create a sense of poison in their whole body. And we now know exactly what those metabolic pathways are that are happening in the amygdala, the frontal cortex, the heart muscle, and we know how to mitigate it. And so people are going to pay a lot of money to be on this summit with Vision's trainers. Okay, it's not free. You have to pay hundreds of dollars to follow along with this. Okay, but I can tell you it's probably going to be extremely effective. Okay, but if you want to do it, if you want to learn these techniques, and you can do it from my website because we have them broken out and into individual techniques where people can go and learn how to do havening. Now, you're not going to be an expert in havening, okay? You probably, if you really wanted to become an expert, you probably want to go to the Havening website, go to havening.com or .org and go there, and you can take additional courses, right? But if you want to learn what it is and the basics of how to do it, you can learn that from my website. And if you want to learn to do the emotional freedom technique, you can learn to do that really well from our website. And these are not things that require some type of a special esoteric intelligence to figure out. This is techniques that you can teach to children that are 6 and 7 years old. Right. And I've done that before. And in fact, Phoenix, we have a separate website that teaches the emotional freedom technique to little children. And we use it with animated characters. And if someone has a little child, especially a child that's having trouble in school, you can go to our other website called School Test Prep, and you can watch videos on how little children can learn to do the emotional freedom technique. So it's not complicated to learn, but it is very complex in how it works bioenergetically and emotionally and spiritually, and how your belief structures are performing for you. The other thing that you can do, which is kind of a really good place to start, is to learn how to quiet your mind, because this constant belief that things are not okay is as a result of a running dialogue that's going on in your brain. You see something, you hear something, you conclude something, and you awfulize it. And it's like, oh, geez, here we go again. I have bad luck. Things all around me are falling apart. Wah, 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 wah. Now, maybe they actually are, but in most cases, it's a habit you've gotten into that where all you're noticing is the negative and your mind is stuck in a rut. It's like a record that won't stop playing. And so the first thing you might want to try is quieting your mind. How about if you could actually sit there and do an exercise that takes less than a minute, and all of a sudden there's no thoughts going on in your brain at all, right? How peaceful and relaxing that might be. And that is the technique you can also learn from our website. It's called the Ultimate Mind Calming Exercise. And when you use that first, especially before you begin havening and tapping, I have to tell you, you would be very hard pressed not to feel very relaxed and peaceful if you were to combine those techniques together. And also very, very helpful for children, especially helping children fall asleep at night. Havening it's kind of like an ancient technique. Parents would if the child is having trouble falling asleep, they'll rub the child's back, they'll run their hands through the child's hair, they'll rub their arms and hold their hands, and it's very, very calming, and it helps the child to sleep. And we know now why that is, and we know what the neurochemistry is of alertness and stress. And children are stressed when they have to go to bed, because children want to always play. And children even get stressed when you ask them to eat. So if a child is playing and you make them get in their high chair to eat, quite often you have to actually give them toys to play with in their high chair, or they'll just slam the food all over the place. Okay, children are geared to play, and then, God forbid, you ask them to go to sleep, and there's not even any food. Now they're under stress because they want to play, and this is the society of a child's mind. And so, in order to get them to calm down, you have to have something that narrows their beta waves, which is their brain wave of alertness, and you have to narrow that, and you have to splay their brain wave of sleep, which is delta waves. And that same phenomena that helps a child sleep is extremely effective for people that need to escape from the trap of traumas, of PTSD, constant worrying, constant anxiety. It turns out that the actual feeling and the symptoms and the fear that comes with these traumas is occurring because of very specific brain chemicals that can only be absorbed and actualized in the presence of specific brain waves. So neurochemistry is brain wave dependent. Your brain is electrical, it's chemical, and it's electromagnetic. The electromagnetics are these waves of organic energy, so to speak. And each section of your brain has different types of waves, and the neurochemistry of that section of the brain is dependent on those waves. And if you can shift the wave away from its norm into a different wave, the chemistry won't occur. And this is what havening does. Havening, this rubbing of the child's arms and for yourself, rubbing your hands together, changes the brain waves in your amygdala from a beta wave to a delta wave. And the compounds that are created that are associated with the trauma, the flashback, the PTSD, the worry, the anxiety, that chemistry never happens. And sometimes the very first time that you do the havening, your brain is now trained to go into that waveform when there's a reminder of the particular sentinel event that causes the trauma. Right? And sometimes it takes multiple times. Sometimes you have to do it every time that you experience it in order to arrest it. Right? Depends how severe it was. But there are many, many cases, many studies showing the dramatic positive effect of the use of havening for all types of trauma. But one of the main things that it does is it breaks that cycle of you being in the belief that things are not okay. And that belief in the amygdala is signaling your frontal cortex, which is signaling the neurons in your heart muscle, which is then signaling the amygdala. And you can tell which state you're in based on your heart rate variability. So there's a device you can get from the Heart Math Institute called Inner Balance. You can actually clip this little device onto your ear, and it has a cord that plugs into a transponder that then plugs into your cell phone. And there's an app on your cell phone that will give you a visual feedback as to what's happening with that metabolic pathway in your brain based on how your heart is beating. And it also gives you a gamification to play this little game where you sync your breath and focus on gratitude. And you can watch the indicator on your cell phone change as you go into a state where you're no longer sending that signal, but rather sending a signal around in that circle that says, actually things are okay, and I'm really grateful for my life. Right? And so this is the modern day strategy. This is the state of the art in strategy that doesn't involve taking drugs or excessive drinking, that allows you to go into a state of calm. These are highly researched and highly tested and proven technologies that unfortunately maybe 1 in 100 people have ever heard of in the United States. And it needs to become much more well known and common and utilized. And it's one of the biggest favors that you can do for yourself, for your family, for your coworkers, for the people around you, for you to be the person that's calm, focused, generative, compassionate in the midst of chaos, in the midst of the storm. That ripple effect that you can produce with these strategies is very profound, because you are going to be emitting um, pheromones from your face, actual chemistry coming from your face that literally floats in the air and lands on the skin and the faces of other people. And when those pheromones of peacefulness and happiness hit their skin, it actually gets transmuted through into their body and makes them feel peaceful. Not to mention, both your brain and your heart muscle, independent of your skin, are producing pulsed electromagnetic fields similar to what's going on in your brain. That is, and each pulse you put out has a signature based on how you're feeling. Are you feeling okay? Are you feeling grateful? Are you feeling joyful? Or are you under anxiety because things are not okay? Right? Doesn't even feel good to say it, right? But you can control the environment around you by producing an electromagnetic aura and a pheromone laced atmosphere of positivity and loving kindness and compassion that has a dramatic effect on the people around you. And if you're ever in a room and somebody walks into the room and you are like, "Ooh, geez, this doesn't feel good," or there's this other person that walks into the room and everybody wants to run to say hello, and the person is glowing and happy and supportive, that's the person who is putting off electromagnetism and pheromones that are immensely positive. And those are the people that we become attracted to, because we desire that subconsciously, whether we know it or not.
Interesting. Well, I tell you what, Bob, we are rolling down towards the end of this interview. How about we get your final thoughts on everything, words of wisdom, and again, before we roll out one last time, all your contact info.
Yes, sure. So yeah, if you go to patriotintelreport.com, you'll see on the top left this little box that looks like a lady in a blue lightning storm. So click on Our Lady in the Blue Lightning and you'll end up on our site. That's where you can go and find your dynamic combo and many other things to help with your inflammation. And you can give us a call, 800-861-4609, Eastern Time, from 9 to 5 on Monday to Friday. We'll pick up the phone. If you need to leave us a message and it's the weekend, you can do that, and we'll call you back on Monday. If you call and the phones are busy, you'll get an answering machine. Leave a message, because you'll receive a call back almost certainly that same day, and sometimes within just a couple of minutes, because we have a great computer system and phone system that work together. And so we can see who called and what their message is. And as soon as someone gets off the phone, they're looking at a computer screen that says, hey, so-and-so called and needs to talk to you. And they just tap that button and it dials you right back. So it's very easy for us to call you back. And we do that dozens of times throughout the day. We return phone calls. And also, as I was saying before, we're at 5401 Central Avenue in St. Pete. You can come by and visit. It's not a storefront, but we do have our fulfillment center here. And so people do come by to pick up their products, but you can't come here shopping. It's not really zoned for that. We'd be more than happy to call ahead of time to make sure I'm here, and I'll meet up with you myself. And just for last thoughts here, Phoenix, here we are on planet Earth, and many of us have been here for a lot of years. In my case, almost 70 years. Next birthday, I'll be 70, and things are going well. I'm happy living on this planet, and I know a lot of the people that are also, and they want to stay for a while. They want to see what happens. They want to contribute. They want to help improve things and do things and have fun and enjoy this lifetime, and they want to do it for as long as they can. And so part of what we do at Boomers Forever Young is we help people in that regard. People that want to be super healthy, people that want to stay around for a while. Our mission is to do everything in our power to give people the newest, the greatest, the state-of-the-art technologies and techniques that will allow them to live out that dream of a very long and very healthy life.
Very cool. Well, I tell you what, Bob, time flies when we do this. Really appreciate a lot of really good information, everyone. Hope you enjoyed it like I did. And again, like Bob says, if you have any questions, give him a call at the number he provided, and, someone will get back to you. Bob mentioned it during this interview, and I say it all the time. If you don't have your health, nothing else matters. It doesn't matter where you live, what kind of house you have, what type of toys you have, who you have been. If you do not have your health, nothing else matters. And it's very true. So to do the best, to be the best that you can be for not only you, but for other people. You may love somebody. And if you do, best way to love them, one of the best ways is take care of yourself. And again, it's not being narcissistic or, only concerning yourself with yourself. You're doing it so you can be the best that you can be for everyone else. So anyway, again, Bob, I really appreciate this, and I know everyone else does. Really do.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Phoenix. My pleasure being on. I'll look forward to our next time.
Definitely. So will I, and I know everyone else will. So that's it, everybody. Fire within. So what do you think? More questions? Give Bob a call. Anyway, like, share, and subscribe to this information, and we will see you again on our next health edition of the Midnight Overwatch in a couple weeks. Till then, everyone, be well, be strong. Know that you know that no matter what you see in the world, God wins. And until the next one, Phoenix and Bob out. God bless.